Hi guys, audience.
Hello.
This is my best friend in Georgia, Harsha,
Yes.
and me, Yair, and we are making now like a pilot for
A
our
test video.
YouTube channel. It's called
Our YouTube channel.
yeah, it's
Yes.
called Upstream because both of us are definitely living not like everybody else,
That's for sure.
and that's what connects us, by the way. Not much people know this. It's
Uh,
like Trump. So anyway, we are going to spontaneously talk about some topics from actual
from
life.
Yair, from your recent trip back home to Israel.
Wow, first of all, I must admit that I really missed your accent, your British accent. It's so pleasant to hear it. Yes, I just came from Israel now a few days ago. Actually, it was Sunday. And I had to be in Israel for some personal things, medical, and also some celebration of the family. So it was kind of challenging because of the war. As everybody knows, Israel is still in a war since the horrible massacre of 7th of October in 2023.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's already,
1.5 years.
yeah,
Going to
I
be
mean,
1.5
when,
years.
as we talk, still like 101, I think, hostages are still captured illegally and in very hard condition in Gaza Strip. And so, first of all, I wish that they will get back to their home and unite with their families as soon as possible and healthy.
Hmm.
And yes, Harsha, what did you want to know about Israel?
Yeah. So in the news, all that we hear about Israel, of course, is the war, the Gaza, the bombing, the suffering, the Israelis, the Palestinians. But what's it like? You've been in Israel like for 3 or 4 months now, or 5 months. I don't remember.
6 months.
6 months. So obviously you're not living in a war zone. What is your daily life like?
Yeah. Actually, for me, it's a little different because, as you know, I already kind of retired in my early age, 54,
It's good.
and I'm really happy about this.
I'm glad to hear it.
And also, this is something that I can really allow myself to do in Georgia, because Georgia, the cost of living is 6 times cheaper than Israel. Israel is extremely
Yes,
expensive.
this is something that always surprised
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, for me also, and
It is a high income country, but not super high for the prices to be really, really expensive, I think, compared to the Israeli income.
yeah, I tell you the traditional explanation for this is all the time they were saying that it's about the location, that Israel is kind of de facto functioning as an island, economic island, because it's surrounded by hostile Arabic countries,
Okay.
and it was in a war since the first day of foundation,
Mm-hmm.
the 1948, that Israel got the United Nations vote decision to establish the country. And this is very important point that as we talk, I just think about all the people that also will see, some of them will be pro-Palestinians or hostile to Jewish or anti-Semitism or whatever. So I just want to very much emphasize this point, that United Nations is the only authorized authority in the world to create or recognize countries by certain, agreed parameters like sovereignty, language, and other things, nation, and other things. And actually, the independence document of the Jewish people in Israel in 1948, the first quote sentence is saying that Israel is establishing, after 2,000 years of the Jewish people spread around the world, living in diaspora and chased by many different ethnical group from or pure anti-Semitism. For me, it's also, I think, based on some jealousy, because as minority, the Jewish were always chased, and since they are not so missionary like the Islam and the Christianity, that you can become Muslim or, as you know, or Christian if you're baptized in 5 minutes. And also for Muslim, you just go with 2 witnesses and say like nothing but Allah, and then you're Muslim. But to become Jewish takes long. It can take even 2 years. Depends on the what kind of culture and community you are based. and what are their criteria. So this is one reason I think that it's hard to become Jewish. So that's why there are only 40 million due to the Holocaust, because otherwise there was, I think, a double number of Jewish in the whole world. In Israel itself, there is about 8 million, and 20% of the whole 10 people are like 2 million Israeli Arabic. So what I wanted to emphasize about this point of the independence, that Israel was, according to the independence declaration, this is the words: we are giving our hand in peace to our neighbors to create a good neighborhood, a good relation, prosperity for all the nations, for the religious. And sadly, the answer of all the countries that surrounding Israel was starting a war. And this is the independence war. 7 different armies, among of them Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and what they call today the Palestinians, all of them started a war. Mm-hmm. And since then, every few years there was some wars or some other kind of conflict or terror since the day. And Israel was ready to give the territory that was agreed by United Nations to the Arab people in Israel to create. But I mean, since they are all the time crying and they're calling the day of establishment of Israel Nakba, which means in Arabic disaster.
Okay.
But disaster, I mean, you got your opportunity. Even today, we are ready to negotiate. But how can you know?
They call it Nakba, disaster.
Nakba is disaster, yes. And even the day that Israel is celebrating independence, they are making marches and parades with flags and crying about losing their country. But since
these are the Palestinians.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we talked also about what is the excuse for the cost of living. So
it's come from this.
Yeah, actually, the security issue is the main issue that was always the number one excuse why Israel is expensive, because we have to import everything. The commerce with the Arabic countries around is existing somehow, even today, even with Turkey. But these expenses of defense and the isolation in the neighborhood was among the main reasons why everything is so expensive.
Isn't that sponsored largely by USA and other Germany?
USA and
reparations.
Actually, Germany.
They have to pay a penalty for.
They pay penalty, but the penalty was not directly to the government, but for the survivors of the Holocaust. They make agreement. Yeah, they make agreement of rentas for people that were prisoners of war.
Good.
Or I mean, maybe of course there is some foundation or some donation to other areas of interest together with the European Union these days, because Israel is also part of OECD countries. And but this was the number one excuse. Like all the time, we have a huge budget every year going to the defense, and this is even we call this like the foundation United States how do you call this, assistance or something budget, that there is a deal with the United States how we buy from them weapons with the money that they donate us. There is a key of how much money from their budget that they give by the White House, decisions by the Pentagon, that we have to buy products of armor back from the US. Yeah. So actually there was, a few years ago, there was one try to fight the cost of living. I don't know if you follow up, there was a time there was demonstration, many young people were sleeping with tents in Tel Aviv at Rothschild Boulevard. Rothschild, it's a paradox. It's a paradox because this is one of the most luxurious avenue.
What is the name again?
Rothschild. Edmond de Rothschild was the
baron.
Yeah. He was very welfare philanthrope. Yeah.
Even now, they very, the family.
They still have banks and. By the way, very surprisingly, there is also some lands that they bought that are now part of Lebanon, in South Lebanon. And I saw a channel of a doctor for history, his name is Guy Dehor, and he said that we have in the cadastre proofs that this Baron Rothschild, the lands even that he bought is now part of South Lebanon, actually belongs to Israel. Because it was mandate of France. Lebanon was part of France in the past, and from some reason in the war and international border issues, it stayed in Lebanese territory, but it belonged to a Jewish organization as Kakal and others. So anyway, this protest was for a while, and they were fighting and blocking highways and protest to the government in Jerusalem, the parliament, the Knesset. But actually, after a while, I don't know, there was one professor that made a conference to how to fight the very centralized market in Israel. It's like, very sad, it's like, in a way, it's kind of nepotism.
It's not a free market.
Yeah, because it's a small country and everything goes so fast, and I think I can say that in aspect of how centralized is the market, we are not so different, surprisingly, with Philippines. It's called nepotism. You know nepotism?
Yeah, but nepotism is usually like
when few families control all the
like an oligarch.
Yeah. So there are also, when we speak about some families that are controlling import of food, import of medicines, cars, and other areas, or like oligarchs, like what happened in Russia. Also in Israel, there was some stories like this. For example, the famous plants for chemicals, for magnesium from the Dead Sea, all these resources. Also, there was time that the government decided to give it to private hands, and they sold this. They gave merchandise in a very cheap cost, and these people did a lot of money. So, but I think the problem is that it's a paradox, because
so Israel is like a democracy, but you still have this problem of a kind of an oligarchy coming into play.
Yeah, of course, and also after the collapse of.
But can you compete? Like if I come to Israel, you have all these. Yeah, you have rule. Even in America, Switzerland, you have these people who are currently on top.
Yeah.
So if I come there, or you go, or Israeli, anyone.
Yeah.
I have a good idea. I want to start a business which is maybe not directly competing with them.
Yeah.
But it grows and it kind of becomes a competition. What will happen? Will the system turn against me?
First of all, there is a monopoly authority that is supervising this and trying to avoid situation that too many businesses controlled or held by the same parent companies, to avoid healthy
to ensure healthy
competition. Yeah, that's the word. So yes, but the problem is that the initial cost of establishing a business in Israel is crazy. I even heard, one very rich oligarch from India. He's the owner of the port in Haifa, in Ashdod or in Haifa.
That must be Reliance. Or Adani.
I think so.
Adani does this, yeah.
And I know that even those people who they visit in Israel, they said that the regulation in Israel is even severe and more complicated than in India. Imagine.
India is not, depends on what you want to do. I think India is not, it's not now it's not, it used to be much worse. Nowadays it's not so difficult. So they say Israel, it makes it very hard to get into.
Yeah. For example, I'll give you a very simple example of somebody that you know. I have a friend, her name is Mili, and she's supposed to come here in a year. She wants to open a coffee place.
Okay.
In Israel, before you even open a coffee place or restaurant, first of all, there is monopoly of the market of what we call kosher. You know kosher. Kosher is the Jewish halacha, according to the Jewish religious, what you are allowed to eat and what you are not allowed to eat. For example, Jews are not eating meat together with cheese, milk products together with meat products together is not allowed. You have to wait 6 hours before. And also, sadly, all the preparation of the products, animals, the way that they killing the animals for food also had to be in a certain way. It's also similar in a way to the
Halal.
halal in the Islam, even that it's working just one way. I mean, if you're Muslim, you can eat kosher because it's enough strict to become halal. But if you're Jewish and you want to eat kosher, it's not enough for you to eat halal. So all this kind of hidden cost a lot of money because when you open a restaurant, you get to get certificate from the regional rabbanut, like the rabbi that is responsible in charge for this. And also, there is this Ashkenazi and Sephardi.
Oh, for the kosher, you have to get that right.
Yeah, so also you have rabbi. One rabbi is for the Ashkenazi, the people that came from Europe and US. And there is a different rabbi for the people that came from Spanish. All the people that come in Arabic countries or Spanish, they call the Spanish Jew.
But what's the difference for kosher?
They have different kosher things, they have different even the way they pray. There is a lot of different.
Okay, so it's like a different type of Jew, okay.
Yeah, they have their own different synagogue.
So it is not just same Jew in the Spanish language. It's different customs.
I mean, if you come from Morocco, you pray different than a Jewish that came from Europe. Okay. Now it's more quiet. We closed. So all this is initial cost, and then you have to pay, of course, tax in advance. Everything, to check, get permission from Ministry of Health. Everything is so expensive. I mean, I see here in Georgia how easy in Tbilisi when you want to sell something, as long as you have payer ID in the tax authority, in the revenue office, you can just come with your Lada car with a bunch of apples or nuts or whatever you want to sell, put a weight and take money, and it's your own responsibility to report your income to the tax authorities. But in Israel, so many regulations that you need to specialize, and you need, especially, let's say, if you want to make some joint ventures associated with high-tech or startup companies, everything is so already regulated, and need some actors that are the strongest in the market will help you to make this investment. Angels, instead of banks.
That's it, angel investors, yeah.
Angels.
But it's interesting you mentioned this about Georgia. Definitely one of the country's greatest strength is what you said, limited. Only the most essential regulations are in place. I think that's what's good about Georgia, living here. It's simple. Life is.
Yeah, they call this index, ease of business.
It is really deserves. It fully deserves to be there.
Yeah.
The top 5 or something. It is. I think now they even say it might be number 1 or number 2. It is fully deserving of this ranking.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is people often misinterpret ease of business to be the actual doing of the business, which is not the case, because it's. They think ease of business means easy to succeed in business.
Yeah.
But in regulations and paperwork, Georgia is really one of the very best I've seen.
Yeah, and I can tell you that every time I go to Israel, I'm very much disappointed. First of all, I'm not speaking now about the war and the security issue that...
Just the way things work there. That's what I was asking you about.
Yeah.
We are hearing about war and good side, bad side, terrible things, good things. But because you're in Tel Aviv, you've been there for 6 months, we've been talking to each other. Obviously, the war is there in your mind, but I don't think it's there in your life, your day-to-day life.
No, I mean, my day-to-day life was mostly, for me, seeing some friends and trying to volunteer.
But no bombing in your...
Yes, of course, there was. Even there was more amazing. The moment that Iran attacked Israel with 300 rockets and drones, as a revenge after Israel sent to hell one of the heads of the Hamas.
Oh, yeah.
Which was very humiliating for Iran because it happened in Tehran.
Was it that bearded guy?
Guy that his parents for kids and was facing down on the floor and celebrating massacre, rape and murder of young people in just celebrating in their 20s in a huge party that was not far from the border with Gaza in Reim, what called the Nova Festival. So I mean, I cannot understand how the most radical, brainwashed people in this small strip of 20 kilometer or on 8 or 16, I don't remember really the size, how can you brainwash your kids to so much hate and everything? But
his kids don't live there. They live somewhere in Europe or America.
no, some of their kids was there, and also they died also by the Israeli army. But most of them, they live in Qatar. Qatar is a fake territory, for my opinion, that is actually part of the Islamic Brothers.
They have a lot of money.
That's the thing. They're using their money to, how they got the Mondial, you know. Of course, it's bribe. Do they care how many Indians or Chinese died in the?
No.
No, they don't care how many people are buried in the stadium that they built for this Mondial.
Not at all.
And even that they don't like Israel, they had no choice. They had to give to Israeli visas for the time of the Mondial. Even the
so they left it.
No.
Okay.
For this time, Israelis could visit. You know, money buy everything. You know, when it's you got this merchandise for this Mondial worth for millions of dollars. So they sent money, and they are also Sisi, the general that is controlling Egypt, is afraid from. It's the same movement that is a part of the ideology of Erdogan in Turkey, the Islamic Brothers.
So what do they want to do? I mean, what do
they want to do all the world Sharia state according to their
beheading and stoning people? Are they mad?
Yusuf Qaradawi, I think this is the name of one of these sheikh that founded the Islamic Brother. Hamas is a part of this. Qatar is part of this. Egypt, if you remember, that they have this for a very short time. Morsi, that was president, and then there was a putsch against him. And we sent him to jail and killed him.
Egypt, I only remember, but this must be long ago.
Yeah, it was like maybe 10 years ago or less.
That was Mubarak.
No, after Mubarak there was Morsi, Mohammed Morsi.
I think because Mubarak was there for so long, I don't remember anybody after him. He was another guy for too long.
This is another. You know that Egypt is getting more and more armored and one of the biggest navy in the world, by the aid of United States, which is also asking questions, very big question, like who is the enemies of Egypt? I mean, they have issues with the Nile River, you know, because of Ethiopia, because of the making dams. They're trying to block some of the water, so there is potential war between Egypt and Ethiopia, and also Algeria and other countries. I don't remember which one is bordering Egypt, but it looks like. And I say this as an Israeli, very, very sad, because this peace, what we called with Egypt in 1982, that was, for my opinion, a huge mistake that we gave them without any other benefits. You know how land is very important for Muslims, for the Arabs in general. Land is the most holy thing for them.
Land?
Land.
When you private property.
Yeah, when you take their land, when you take the territory, it's like the most way to threaten them or to hold them tight or to make them in fear, because this is the most basic thing, I think, for them in the Islam. And Israel gave huge territory back after the peace agreement, and even today most of the Egyptians are not allowed to go to Israel as tourists, not by Israel, by Egypt. If they will dare to go to Israel, after they come back, the Mukharabat, the secret police, will call them and call them to investigation and try to understand why they're going to visit Israel, even though there is a peace contract. So it's very, very, very cold peace. And now Egypt needs Israel because they're getting a lot of natural gas from us for their electricity plants. And
natural gas for electricity?
Yeah. You know, you use today gas.
You use natural gas for electricity?
Yeah, it's a more clean energy than using mazot or diesel or you use carbon. So this is more clean energy. Of course, it's not the ideal. The ideal energy, I think, is even not nuclear, because nuclear also have a lot of danger, but using kind of windmills, these huge windmills. from the creating electricity. And yeah, but Egypt is getting huge army for what? I mean, I will not be surprised if in their in their mind somewhere there is still an idea to chase Israel away from their life. But yeah, I mean, very complicated geopolitical situation. Looks like the world is getting crazy like never before. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's going to be I don't. It'll be crazy, but if we can navigate, we can benefit. So obviously, if you want one fixed thing, it'll be difficult. But if we are able to, we are not in politics, we are not in government, we are not in social activism, so we can manage our own personal lives
yeah,
by looking at how it moves, just like the guys who run the stock
I
market.
can give you a very good example for this. One time I was unemployed, and I took a personal coacher from very famous company in Tel Aviv, and she was helping me to find a job back in high tech because I was for a while the high tech was very not steady, and I had to work for minimum salary in a bookshop, and I was very frustrated. You know, with all my degrees and everything, that I find myself in a like student job. So she really helped me to focus on this, and I really recommend also for people, if somebody has some mental difficulties or something, if you need a particular target, then coaching can be more beneficial for you than just therapist or whatever. And she asked me something interesting, which I really remember till that moment. She asked me about life, and also I think it's valid for you, Harsha, because I think in many ways we are similar with our way, the way we see life. Like as a free spirit, child-free, and vegans mostly, and thinking that the world is becoming too crazy. And
By the way, there's a word for this child-free. Technical word is not child-free; it's anti-natalist.
I know. Actually, I know this term.
Yeah.
And, I send these links for potential girls that they ask me more details about this.
Some of the guys in this vegan group I'm in,
Yeah, you
like
know,
they're very alternative. That's why I said I didn't say you won't like them because they're young. I said you may not like them because they're very alternative. Lots of all of them have dyed. Many of them have dyed hair and this sort of thing. And some of them are goth. You know what goth is?
Gothic, yeah.
Yeah, some of them are goth.
Gothic is like those going to sadomaso clubs style.
No, they look like they don't do.
Yeah.
They look that all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, it's very popular in Europe. This kind
And
of.
some of them are well, 2 or 3 of them are whatever they call this.
Transgender.
Some they have a lot of terms. I get confused. Like,
Gender fluid.
Yeah,
I know.
gender fluid is the most difficult. That means today.
Yeah, you know, today you're going
Today
to.
I'll be this, tomorrow I could.
You're going today for a fucking website, apps for dating, for example, OkCupid, and then instead of straight, I don't know, lesbian, transgender, you have like 12 different
I am still.
pansexual,
I'm
fluid, transsexual, sapio. Sapio is like somebody that you get
intellectual.
Yeah, the intellectual first before sex. I mean, come on. You know, my father has a great quote, I can tell you. He was saying about which is surprising why he brought 4 kids, but he was saying about mankind, why to make something difficult if you can make it impossible? It's worth a gamal juice.
They're nice people, but yeah, many of them are
Anti-natalist. And anti-natalist, you know, it's based on the philosopher from Germany,
of the cruelty.
Schopenhauer. For those that are not so much familiar about this, I can just say that let's say the idea of that you cannot ask pre-born child, do you want to be born or you don't want to be born, then this is enough in the way of analytical thinking and philosophy. Shows that it's definitely immoral to bring kids to this world, because anyway you're going also to suffer. So this is the philosophy explanation for why to choose to be anti-natalist or child-free by choice, as we call it. Um, anything else that, so we talked about Israel. To make a short story long,
Yeah.
because that's what we
How
are
is your
specializing.
daily life? And no,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is just
so-
a test. We'll
Yeah,
see
so I
how-
just want to tell you that for me, I'm not rich and I'm not also poor, but once any visit in Israel, I'm getting stressed before I'm landing because I know that from now on I have to be very careful with money. Yeah, I give you example. If in Georgia you can find some places 12 lari, which is about $5, $4 or $5, vegan lunch, sometimes including even the dessert, the compote from fruit and water. Then in Israel, just salad can cost you about 68 shekel, which means it's about
$30.
uh,
No, $20.
20, yeah, 18 or 17
Three
dollars.
something, yeah.
Very crazy. Or for example, cappuccino, not cappuccino, let's say ice cream. Ice cream in Israel will cost you 23 shekel for one scoop. Once in Georgia, 23 shekel, let's say it's about $6.
$6, yeah.
Yeah, and here it will cost you $1.
$1.50.
Yeah, depends on the flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in this, I don't want to say, especially I don't say because I'm not publishing anyone, I'm not going to give any logos
$1.50
or
something.
names of companies in, especially not for free. If this program, if our program will become popular, maybe we think about getting some beneficial commercial even that we don't
Yeah,
like.
we can think about it. This is just test. Now let's have a look at how it's what has come. How can you see it?
Okay, sure.
Just
So
to see.
for now, let's say Nachvam this and thank you for watching.
What do you say in Israel?
תודה, תודה.
Toda.
תודה רבה is thank you very much. תודה רבה.
And bye.
להתראות. להתראות is Nachvam this. להתראות.
Leitraot.
Yeah, good. And it's like Nachvam this in Georgian. Or you just say like really like bye.
Nachum is a bye.
Bye or yeah, like okay.